circulating on the global art scene, you must be responding to that situation. It must shape the way you make your films. So what kinds of things are you doing in your films to make them work for the gallery, make them successful for the gallery scene?
I think it's really, most of my works really work. They always have like a timeline. So I can control people from start to the end. But like this Utopia, it's a lot of people like really they cry, but I don't know when they come in to see the film, which moment, but people still touched by the film. So I think that's important for art. It's sad, artwork itself, how
So, I mean, when you're designing something like writing and designing something like Whose Utopia or Haze and Fog, are you thinking about, okay, this is going to be in a gallery, I must make it suitable for a gallery? No. So you just do what you want to do, and then,
Sometimes I work on documentary also showing gallery or museum, his work. It's like today we're watching YouTube or news in video format. Sometimes we just forward and stop and check email and then go ahead, and we always lose information. And we skip on the airplane, you stop and 5 minutes and just go on the phone. So we always have a different selection today. So we can design something for people. We're correct.
Did you work like that with the film? Because I'm very struck by the locations. I mean, particularly I think perhaps the sort of the wasteland location with the concrete pagodas. But there's all the way through the locations are very pictorial. The sort of the framing of the very beautiful, but the framing is very pictorial with very strong picture image. Is that an image from your head, or did you find it with the location? So was it quite organic in the making of the film?
In the garden.
For example.
At the end, at the end, there's the concrete.
It's very interesting because original on my plan is go to another bank side, riverside.
Riverside.
With the forest, because in Beijing is not too much forest. and one day I shooting another shot outside of Beijing. I just crossed this garden far away. I watching. It's like a band garden, concrete pavilion, no any texture, surface, only concrete pavilion. It's inches. So I just let my producer go to check is it possible, and then I changed the location when I started shooting several days. So because the end shooting is I think later, so I just changed because I'm very interested because the traditional garden is band concrete, and then I talked with the security of the garden and told me the story is the boss of this garden, and he decided when he know the government will buy this land in the future for some development, and then he bought the garden and built it. Bought the land in wise money to build as a garden, and then this 故意的让它为弃。
Let it go to waste deliberately, abandon it.
Just waiting one day the government to ask them to buy, or any company
And then they have to compensate.
Yeah, they will give more and more money. So he invites 500万
50 million renminbi. Yes.
50 million.
Yeah.
to build this waistband garden. And not for anybody. But still have some people around that area. We go to their walking, some to play sometimes. Yeah, but dangerous, very dangerous. Yeah.
It's interesting.
But also this location is have this story. It's really Chinese story. Yeah, because he saw or get some secret information. He know the city planning in future this land should be like another town or another CBD. So buy land and do something. Yeah.
I read something.
But it's allowed to build as a garden, traditional garden.
Yes, in concrete. I read recently that there's a new book which is studying what happens to the buildings that are destroyed and demolished in China, the bricks and so on. And the researcher discovered that one of the first things that happens is the people who are in the next area, if it's on the outside of the city, the villagers, they come and take all the bricks they could get and try to build more of more extend their own houses, make their own houses bigger. Because if the house is bigger, then they know they're going to be demolished next. So if their house is bigger, then they know they're going to get more compensation. Yeah.
Sometimes the whole village, they all
build a bigger house.
Yeah.
But because they know it's going to be demolished in a couple of years.
When they know some policy,
yeah.
Next year government will demolish, so that they build and they core down.
Expand.
Yeah.
Where did your film show in China? What kind of spaces?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
I just showed in my studio, invite some friends, some actors, some team workers come to see it. Yeah.
And in the future, where will it show, do you think? What cities, what kind of places? Is it in museums and galleries?
Some Chinese local Vienna. Yeah.
And how many, these days, we know the Chinese art world is huge in terms of production. There's lots of artists making lots of things. Are there now more and more galleries? Is it easier to find places to show the films?
I think it's easy.
Okay.
Also some independent film festival in China. Yeah.
And are they all over China now, or just in a
few cities?
Okay, so the big cities.
There's sometimes small cities like Nanjing, Wuhan, Sichuan. Yeah. The viewer is not too much. Yeah.
Okay. And does your work get a lot of attention from critics in China? Or again, it's only a small kind of art world scene, or it's a wider?
I think it's mostly
art world. Okay.
Yeah.
And another question about your, I don't know, not just you, but also other artists.
It's sometimes like a Sanjuan work, if you deal with the society issue directly, or documentary, so the mass media, like newspaper, they're interesting.
Okay.
Not only people. Yeah.
And are there now collectors in China who are buying video work? No.
I know some, but they prefer some work is like 好看. It's
pretty
good looking animation or good graphic. But the Chinese collectors still prefer photography. I think mostly it's painting. Very expensive. Yes. So because they fuse when I collect it, I don't know how to show it. How to let people know I collect it didn't show the
the value.
Yeah. So when handing the painting of the world, they think
that's my money.
Yeah. So they're not interested in you, and they feel also because
piracy
is popular in China, so they think it is like very cheap material. So they're not interested. So my work is mostly institution, museum. Yeah.
And when you say mostly institutions and museums, at the moment those institutions and museums who are buying your work are mostly outside China?
Yeah.
Are some inside China now buying as well?
Like CFCCA?
Okay, yeah.
But the owner is
foreign.
The institution in China, but they're not China.
And the reason I'm asking these questions, I suppose, is because I became very aware recently that although the Chinese art scene, of course, as we know, has grown very, very rapidly, but it's grown in particular kind of ways. So I saw some research recently that revealed that in terms of auction house sales around the world, New York is still the #1 place, but the #2 place is Hong Kong. Okay, and also that in the world's top 500 artists, in terms of the value of their work in auctions, more than half of them now are Chinese, and even the top 10, again, at least 5 of those are Chinese. So what you were saying about the value of auction paintings, especially, is extremely high. On the other hand, so that part of the Chinese art world has really developed quickly. But on the other hand, by comparison, I think the statistics are that in the United States, there are over 360 privately owned but open to the public galleries and museums. And in China, there are 18 at the moment. But before there were almost none. And probably next year there will be 35, it's happening very quickly. But right now there are not so many institutions there are not so many institutions in China who will buy and include collections of video and other kinds of material. So it's a bit more difficult.
Because Chinese collectors, they were watching the marketing and the auction. That is their Belgian standards. And now we know of a new museum, meaning private museum in China, or even in small second city. So that is the phenomenon in China now. But most of these private museums, you don't know their function and purpose. Yeah. Sometimes they open the private museum maybe for chance to collect some work.
And show their painting.
Like I show now. Then the boss can got some painting from Zheng Fanzi, one painting from Liu Xiaodong, right? Also, they do this kind of show, the government they like. They have some art culture, they have it in our town or something. They're not really doing something.
So they're a public function, not yet.
Yeah, I think this is really China now. The consumer thinking affect people, how we use the culture. Like today, I take my son to the scientist industry museum. I saw a train they collect this work. I think it's very normal in Europe for the kids, for the education. But looking at our country, we don't have this kind of even their youngest generation, we don't have some good zoo and like ocean garden thing. And we don't have this kind of have a quality education.
Okay.
So only the eyeball.
Actress.
Yeah. And consume. You can shop, you can go to shopping mall. So the government only look at their generation, how they can get from their central. And he don't care what is for the more future generation or our nation. So it's very big issue.
And I think
also for the art, also only for the marketing. But why the foreign museum they watching some war is not depend on the marketing, but it's core to the war, and also can affect many generations.
so. I think this is a really interesting issue because, of course, we're very conscious in the UK or in the West as well of this tension between art being driven as a commodity and art as a public space and as a place for reflection and for thought and discussion and something more than just a sort of congealed money, and I think it's interesting that this is happening in China because, as you said at the end there, it's an issue in China right now. And one of the things that I notice in the last 10 years is the word in Chinese for public, is everywhere in China now. And 20 years ago you never heard it except for one or two uses. But now the idea of public space, public administration, public interest, public service advertising, public. And so this idea of what you were talking about is art having a kind of public function and not just a commodity function is very much where your work is positioned, and also it seems to me is part of the hot button issues around art in China at the moment.
Actually, following up on that, I wonder if I could ask about these moments where it appears that art shows up in the film. Where there's a painter, at the very end there's a painter painting it looks like an MC Escher kind of thing.
He's not painting.
Yeah.
A beggar.
He's just crazy.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask about the watermelon falls, which reminded me of Ai Weiwei's piece where he plays with the idea. So the breaking of the watermelon, it seems there's sort of satirical moments in Haze and Fog where art is kind of being critiqued almost by you as a director. And so I wonder if you could speak a little bit about that.
I think you mentioned that is not really connect my art background. 他说他这个元素跟我的艺术像绘画。
那个意思，他们就是说，你放那个西瓜呢，就是
我知道西瓜怎么听的。
是不是有一点跟海外有关系的没有
Because my kids like playing that football watermelon, and also I like the film of China film. Use watermelon a lot, but some the film in itself twice, I think.
What's the name of the one with the watermelon sex scenes? You know the one I need.
So I use this combine together and developing a base that object. And painting.
因为好像是更简易的绘画，
更
简易怎么说？
I think it's I follow on internet. I think it's quite famous. 矛盾空间
The Rubik Cube? No. Yeah?
No,
Sorry.
Conflict,
yeah.
I forgot the name. Because when I story with the camera. When we were far away, we were looking at the crazy guy painting, watching the people, but he painting another thing. And then I found this new location. I saw the traditional pavilion and the concrete, and then fixed my original idea. Yeah, it's like all the things modern. It's from
The contradictions.
Yeah, because the long shot we have different people, actors, and then finally he drawing what he saw the society from the crazy guy is like these things.
Okay.
Even the conflict there is another thing in his mind.
Now, maybe, I'm not sure if this is a question for Cao Fei or for who. How did this commission come about? And this is quite special, right? I mean, this kind of, how many other Chinese artists have been, it's not a common thing to happen, I don't think, for UK galleries to do this.
I want to talk about that. Lindsay, do you?
You mean in terms of that they collected it as well, or commissioned? Well, I mean, it's been a co-commission between a group of organisations.
Okay.
So, from Angkor University of Salford, we've been working with the Chinese Arts Centre, Centre for Chinese Contemporary Art. And I mean, this was a sort of conversation that we started about how the Centre here has been commissioning some great work over the years, but there's no legacy of that afterwards, shown here and goes on to wherever else. At the university, we've got a collection, looking to develop a new collection. So we're working in partnership now to commission work that will be shown here and then come into the university's permanent collection. And doing that, we tend to try and get that out and tour it as well. We don't just want it all to sit in a room, but it looks like it's very much about using the collection. But it's also been great to work with East Side projects and the other partners as well. Lytton has been very supportive. So there's been a huge number of people and organisations involved, and I'm sure you agree in making this happen. But that, I think, is what makes it so special.
I think it's interesting because commissioning to collect is a big risk for a collection. So we're very pleased to be working with University of Salford because many collections are built on approved work. So they're looking at a piece of work. It's everybody's already said it's good. It already has a status, not just because of the artist, but the work itself. But commissioning to collect, there's a risk within that for a collection. But at the same time, there's also a kind of a generational aspect to it. You're making something, part of making something happen, and you're involved in the thinking running up to. So for me, when you first sent the treatment over, which was only a few months ago, when I think about it, incredibly so, when you first sent the treatment over, it was amazing to be discussing your thoughts way before you made the film with the team and with the potential to collect it. And then we're thinking that in collecting it, it would be available for museum galleries across the country alone at all. So one of the issues is, for me, is that there's very little Chinese art being bought in the UK. They take by a little bit occasionally. But it's not really. I think
especially compared to the rest of Europe, Western Europe, right?
The rest, West.
Yeah.
Total, we can do. I think is good. But we need to try and support. I think collectors and curators within collection organisations across the country to see more Chinese art and to collect more Chinese art. Support, encourage, and maybe even branding them to find more. Because I think it's incredibly important to our future and the art world's future because there's so much happening, exciting and interesting from Chinese artists, I think. So it's really important to kind of get the word out there and suggest that more curators spend more time researching and looking at Chinese art.
It's very difficult at the moment in the UK to, especially in London, for example, to find, when you talk with galleries, I haven't done much of it, when you talk with galleries about potential exhibitions involving Chinese artists, zombie is back. There's a very a vicious circle where they want people who are already famous, right? And of course, not so many Chinese artists are already famous here. So then they say, oh well, yes, great art, but no one's going to come if we put a show on. So trying to break that and trying to break that circle is really important, I agree.
And I mean, you already have a high level of interest internationally, but I think for the emerging artists that are coming, very important generation of artists coming behind you in China, within the UK, I think there still is very few platforms to see that work. But we're trying to do something about that.
Happy for a while. Maybe that's a good point to start.
For me also, the first time commission and collection together. Sometimes they commission, but they not mostly the commission but not collect. So.
And was that something you wanted to do very much? You were looking for that opportunity to have both commission and collection together, but just it seemed good when it happened.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that I'm getting the feeling today, it's a very organic sense of.
But also, I think Chinese art centers is very important, of course, in the UK.
Yes.
But because people are all talking about it, Chinese art is really difficult showing UK. Even they showing, but there's no way,
No reaction.
Even some big name, but just small. But maybe American is better or French, a little bit better. And German only one way sometimes.
Yeah, but Germany and Switzerland as well, quite a few places, I think. Yeah. I think
the UK is quite difficult.
It's difficult because the main reason is, and also it's saturated. The art scene, every artist from all over the world wants to be in London, right? So that also makes it difficult. There's so many shows happening. So when a new artist, maybe an artist is very famous in China or wherever they come from, but if they're not already famous in London, when people are choosing between 40, 50, 60 shows, which one will I go to today, it's hard to get them to go.